Welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with your host, Don. Okay, so another week, another episode. What's in store for you today? Well, I'm ad hocing. I don't know if you can tell. But I'm in two minds today because I do want to talk updates because we've obviously got Project Thor going, this podcast, life, all those kind of things where it's still not forgetting that there's my story in this, because that was the whole reason we started in the beginning, with the lack of editing and the production value and all that kind of stuff, and slowly starting to make progress. So for those of you that have been involved from the beginning, it's sometimes a really good reminder. Like, for example, I spoke to someone that used to listen to it. Like, it's busy, they move on. It's like ebb and flow, right? We come and go. And they're like, oh, do you still do that intro? And I was like, yeah, that's like Miles beatboxing. He's like, oh, is that Miles whistling too? And I was like, yeah. And then after like 10 seconds, I was like, no, Miles didn't whistle. And then I realized that it was me. It was the Skippy intro. I might bring that back. Because it's a really good example of, like, as you start to progress, you start to change who you originally were to suit where you're going. But actually, sometimes it's good to keep the original things in, because those are the good things that lead to the better things. But you don't know which one's which. That's what makes life exciting, challenging, frustrating, and everything that comes in between. So let me do a very quick update then, so that you guys that are interested in, say, Project Thor, where that's going, what's happening with that, you're up to speed. We obviously started as the 2025 Masogi was Project Thor, and I wanted to, essentially, it was the success results that you'd see externally would have been, say, a six-pack, but not for the vain reasons. I mean, there might be, I'm going to say, with all great intentions and all that kind of stuff, it's not, like, I've got 4 kids, I'm happily married, all that, like, aesthetics. Yeah, I think it's part of my nature, maybe. Like, I like beautiful things. I like to look symmetrical and all that kind of stuff. So that might be where that comes from. But what I had disguised it with, or what I do think is the real, like, how I see, you have to, if you can earn it and it can be really rewarding, then the six-pack is an outcome of good discipline, done daily, and the ability to stick to an initial goal and outcome no matter what comes your way. So obviously, 4 kids, business, like I own a business, Ray owns a business, or a couple between us. We've got in-laws living with us and my mom living with us. And I'm still essentially, you're still trying to, like, shift identity from rugby player to whatever that is now, and keep all of that up and maintain sanity, and then take on something like Project Thor, which is little and often, and see where that goes. So are you with me that it's like, the more I talk about it, the more interesting it gets for me, because I'm like, oh, these are reminders that I haven't thought about. Is consistency was something that I've been wanting to prove to myself since I retired. I thought about this the other day, because when you no longer have rugby, and I've spoken about institutional support and the structures that life gives you or work gives you, and we were on a call the other day with the community, the Identity Human community, and I was talking about the downside to having such great structures externally, as in sport, what I had. Like, you have everyone doing things for you so that you can just focus on one thing, is you never learn to be accountable to yourself necessarily, unless you've learned it before you get into that environment. So there were the guys that made it to the top, consistently to the top, and I don't just mean one off, were the ones that were very accountable to themselves, regardless of what other people did for them. So in weeks off or in off seasons, they were the ones that kept themselves fit and trained, and would come off and they'd have their own routines, and, like, regardless of what was going on, they'd come and do those. Accountable to yourself, right? And I may have had that, but not to the level that I wanted to, because, I always think about what were my habits that I had if I wasn't doing it for rugby. And I realized that I didn't have any of those habits, even down to the point of making bed. Like, I was like, I didn't see the point. I get up, get my clothes on, go to work, do all my things, come back, and I get back into the bed in the exact same place that the pillow was, and you get me, like, the pillow, the duvet, even where the mattress, exactly, like, you slept there. That was the most comfortable position. So get back into that comfortable position and resume your sleep. That was my outlook on it. But actually, so there, like, I'm not even down to making bed did I have a habit that I kept, unless it was a habit for rugby. And I really want you to think about that now. It's like, have you built your life up where the only habits you have are for other things? They don't relate to you. As in, if you didn't have to do them, would you do the habit? Even kids, even your partner, even social things, and most importantly, your work or whatever it is that brings you money. If that wasn't there, would you still do that habit that you've got? If the answer is no, you are not doing it for yourself. And if you're not doing it for yourself, be careful, because you are putting the value of who you are into those things. I know it can get quite deep. This is the kind of stuff like I thought about this today. I love talking about this when you come into the course and we get the opportunity to discuss these things that are just like, whoa, yes, completely see that. That's why I need to start that habit. That's why I need to do this. Or one step further is like, that's why it's okay to be selfish, as in do something for yourself, because you realize that that is what makes you successful, regardless of the change that is going on around you. So that anyone that's dealing with constant change and your pressures and all, and like you can get overwhelmed, it's because deep at all of these like structural analyses, you'll see that you're not doing anything for you, the one that's in the very center of that. So how do we build that up? Bring this all back in line. That's why I started Project Thor, is because even after I retired, I would do London Marathon, but again, external event, right? And it finishes. Then I did London Marathon again, external event. Oh, these big challenges, they really helped me form habits. They weren't. I was forming good structures and habits for that event, external. Did 3 peaks, again, lots of walks with Ray. Amazing, because it brought us together, but I was only doing things because I had that event. So then I was like, okay, well, ironically, we're going to do 2025, and I'm going to really test my resolve to do things that are small, things that are consistent every single day that might get harder and harder, but I'm going to do them regardless of what is going on around me. That was the test. That's the Masogi test. That's my Project Thor test. So I want to update you into how that's going and maybe some of the learns, because we did it like a foundation phase, bulk phase, a shred phase, another bulk phase, and a shred phase. I learned so much about my body in that space of time, even though I needed my body for professional rugby, in terms of, if you calorie count, which I was vehemently against, and I'm still like, everything has its flaws, but it actually taught me a healthier approach to eating, as in I could now eat an ice cream and go, oh, okay, it's only 300 calories. It's not going to make me fat just because I eat ice cream. So you can calm down on those things, but then you can't then rest on those laurels that are, I can just eat 6 ice creams in a day and I'm under my calorie count. It's like, no, that's actually completely the wrong approach. But it's almost a step that I think we all need to take in that right direction, because it's not the final step. The final step would be to have an understanding of what is good, what is not so good, what's the rough calorie thing of that, because we don't really want to get defined by that, but also have like a natural understanding of what the balance is, right? And that from the body sense, so, or the eating sense, the mental side of it. I put on 10 kgs in the first bulk, so I got up to like 121 or something, then went back down to 116, and went up to 123, and I'm now currently at 116, and on the end of shred phase. So we went on holiday to America for 2 weeks, and we went at the end of my shred phase. So in America, I didn't have a plan, so managed to just do a couple of runs and then gymmed wherever I could. But it was an interesting test for me to see, okay, if I stop all of those structures that I've got, I still went on holiday and like, it was boiling hot in America, still wanted to go and do exercise, but it wasn't like an hour in the gym and I have to find one no matter what. It was like, okay, I'll just go for a run if I can. I'll just go and do that if I can. And it was really nice to see that rhythm that was built kept going. And even though, yes, it's for a longer term, finite end of having a 6-pack, I don't think that that's the plan now. So when we got to about midway through the shred phase, and I say the brilliant individual that has helped me out, he was like, look, we're going to make sure that we're doing this for long term, and yes, sustainably. So he didn't want me to get injured, mess with my eating too much, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of extended that shred phase to not be so intense, but sustainable. So we took the 2 weeks off. I then got sick in the 3rd week after America, and then kickstarted again in week 4. And by end of week 3, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to really work hard to get that rhythm back, because I felt like I was right back to where I was before, where I could easily not go to the gym. I could easily, not go for the runs that I need to go for, or I could easily just slip back into old habits. And then, hopefully you guys are resonating with like slipping back into old habits. I just happen to be at like month 10 and a half or 11 where the external, the only thing I couldn't really control, which was traveling for 2 weeks and getting sick, actually was there, what happened. But after I got sick, so that was week 3, then that week 4, I did 2 or 3 sessions just because I was still feeling a bit, and got the rhythm back. And then week after that, which is this week, I've now been 5 a.m. gym, 5 a.m. gym, 5 a.m. gym, really hard workout yesterday. And then I'm going to do the workout this afternoon and one more tomorrow. So it's like right back into getting the 6 sessions done, because we now have moved into what I've asked to be a hero phase. This is it's so cool, isn't it? It's like this is what was naturally called the hero phase, which naturally plugs into Project Thor. But the hero phase is, I've said 18th of December, let's put a finite end and let's try a sprint now within this. And let's see if we can really push the limits and see what, if we go on another holiday, where we're going to end off. So 18th of December is the next target now, but it's in hero phase. So he was like, look, I've chatted to another mate or someone else that works with him, and this kind of program. He was like, luckily you were an international rugby player, because it's going to be hard. And I was like, bring it. And it's really it's so cool to be able to kick into this type of gear. Now, I'm not sure if I've spoken on the podcast, but we talk about what's your set point in something. So your set point of being able to achieve, the highest level. When you're at the highest level of stress or pressure, you fall onto the highest level of preparation. So what I feel I've done is increase that set point throughout the year. Little steps, right? Little steps, little foundation steps. So now when I say I want to step up, that step up of intensity isn't this massive gap where I'm trying so hard, I'm using all of my extra resources, I'm tired, but I'm like, I've got to do this, and then use willpower and use discipline. Actually, it's just been it's like shifting to the next gear. And it's fantastic to see, because everything starts to become relative. You start to see how you could struggle with one kid and then you have 2. And then you go, one kid was so easy, 2 is hard. And then you have 3, and I'm speaking from experience here, and you go, how did I ever complain about 2? But at one was hard. One is hard. One kid is a lot, because that is what relative to where your set point was before that. You've gone from no kids to 1. So that shift is hard, because it's a lot of different. Then from 2 to 3, it's another shift, because now you're outnumbered if there's 2 parents in this household. But then from 3 to 4, then it kind of just becomes like, oh, we're just doing this again. So then that's where I find the set point stays now. So this hero phase is going to be interesting, because it's like 3 gym sessions a week plus 2 high intensity workouts plus a zone 2. And then whatever extras I put in there. And we don't stop from day to day. So I'm interested to see how we're going to go from X amount of calories step down, X amount of calories step down, and that's just a short-term goal. And then what happens after that? And that's what I'm interested in. I think Project Thor is probably just going to be something that is it's always being Thor. I haven't really thought about it yet, because I don't want there to be an end to it. It's almost like that's the rhythm or the structure that I've chosen for, my fitness identity. That's what I want to put in place. And we'll see how this evolves. And it's like I said, it's an ongoing journey with the podcast, with the story, and you guys learn as I learn. I think that's the best way to do it. Any other learns that I got from Project Thor so far is sometimes it's okay to set out with high expectations. Because I did, I was when I finished Project Thor at September 18th or 20th, before August, September. So August 18th, I'm going to be in ridiculous, Nick. I'm going to look like Chris Hemsworth. I'm going to look like Thor. In my head, that was it. In reality, though, that was I was far off, because I never knew what it took or how long that journey was going to take to rebuild properly. But by getting someone to help me, they really helped put into perspective of what the steps are. Still, but what they were really good at is they never took away my reality, knowing theirs. They just guided and just would listen and tweak where possible, knowing not to let me fall off a cliff. And I think it was really well done. But the learns are you can still, even if you don't get the goal that you were going after, set that big goal, because that really helped me drive my standards early on and maintain them as best possible. Because I think what happens is we get so caught up with setting realistic standards that it doesn't challenge us enough to make it worthwhile. And that's where things start to fall off. And what happens is you fall off into this rhythm and these set of standards that just don't excite you. And then you fall into this loop of being sad, anxious, lacking purpose, not feeling worthy, shame, all of these things that you then learn to tolerate and cope, because humans are incredibly resistant and resilient, and we're just survivors, right? But if your standards aren't high enough to your end goal and it doesn't excite you after a while, like that's your end goal is your purpose, right? You've got to put that in place. So my learn was like, it was really good to set the high expectations of how I want to look, because I really enjoyed the ability to work hard and go like, that standard is what I really want. That's what I'm going to go after. And I got closer and closer to the goal, and I was like, sure, I'm not actually achieving what I wanted to. So how do I achieve that? So all I've done is shift the timeline further out, and I'm going to keep going after it. And if I never get that, the journey that I've gone on to get there has been incredibly like rewarding and not challenging in a way where I'd like, this hasn't been willpower and discipline and motivational videos and it's been relatively incredibly easy to just slip into, because we're really focused on like, how badly do I want that end goal? And that's a principle that I take with anything. Like if you're thinking about this for your life, all you have to sometimes do is question the thing that you want to go after. How badly do you want it? Genuinely, that's it. If you can get that badly, and I don't mean the fake bad where you go, yeah, I really want to run a business. I really want it. Like, ask your 5 whys, like get 5 layers deep. And if you get to the 5th layer, and somewhere along those 5th layers of asking yourself, yeah, but why do I want that? Why do I want to do that? You have doubt. And maybe I don't really want that. That there is where you need honesty. That honesty right there is what you need to listen to, because the outcome that you originally went would have been one way of describing something at like your 5th layer that you really wanted, but you just didn't have the skill to communicate with yourself to recognize what that is. So the asking the 5 whys and realizing that you maybe don't really want that, it's a great thing, because you've discovered a mismatch in your mind and what you want. So what you want to do is you want to get that clarity to what you really want. So like if you've got an outcome, well, what does that get you? Why do you want that outcome? And just keep probing and probing and probing until you get 5 whys deep and you can answer it and you go, that is what I really want to do because it allows me to do this. If you can find that, you will move into this rhythm where in a couple of weeks or months' time, hopefully you'll comment on the podcast and you'll be like, Don, I thought you were talking absolute nonsense when you said you don't need willpower and discipline. I thought you were being an absolute wally and you were just saying it for clicks and likes and an opposing opinion. But it's actually a discovery. It's a realization that the only time I think you need willpower and discipline is when you wane on the things you really want because you don't really want that. So you force yourself to go into that. And that's where I'm at currently. Like, it's not hard to make these changes that I'm making. And it's a journey, and it's an incredible journey. So yeah, those are some of my learns. That's probably the most important learn, and the tangent that I probably should have gone down anyway for Project Thor. And so what are the next steps? The next steps are the hero journey. When I'm going to start to kick off the next challenge, so the next mindset challenge is going to be 5 days. And essentially, I could take you on the same journey that I've gone on over the last 3 years, but just speed it up for yourself, just under the principles and all that kind of stuff. So, I'll probably talk about that challenge now so that you have a deeper understanding of what it actually entails. Because I know we always talk about the 5-day challenge, and I'm always hesitant to say, I don't want to tell people what they do, because the exciting bit is when you get in there and I tell you, it's like, oh, I'm already committed, right? But I'm going to give something slightly different. It goes, is the 5-day challenge is essentially you and I and whichever group, however many people we get in there. If one person signs up, I'll do it. I promise. That'll be amazing. But if 100 people sign up, it's the same. We'll do over 5 days. We meet live. And I will run you through an activity to do backed up by the reason why and where that gets you in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, and in a year. What you're going to be thinking, what are the resistances, so that I'm fully prepping you mentally so that you can carry on doing something, so that you go from inconsistent and say overwhelmed to consistent and calm and measured. Like, I think, like, just imagine being able to run the life that you've got and get more of what you want without having to hide who you really are when no one is watching, having to pretend that everything's okay. So I want to be able to get you into a position where you're not having masked conversations and living a masked life. Okay, I want you to take that mask off and go like, this is who I am. I want you to move from shame and needing strength to be vulnerable to just being who you are, and it shows vulnerability to others that gives them strength. So I want you to be proud of that person that you know that no one else knows. And we can get there, right? We get there. It's a journey. It's a hell of a journey with lots of ups and downs. And this doesn't set you up to have no downs, by the way, because that's not life. Well, it's not a life that I'll lead you down. Like if you do find that where there is constant up the whole time, tell me. I'm open, not research. I'll experiment and I'll follow that, and we'll see if we can chase that. But the realistic side of this is how we get you into the right mental state as often as possible and as intentionally as possible, so that you can go after the things, and when the dips come, you get out of those dips. That's how we can define high performance or resilience, whatever you want to call it. So the 5-day challenge is all around cold showers and how we challenge the thinking towards those and how those relate to everything else that you want to do. So they are my simplest way of making something so that everyone has access to, and the only thing that stops you from doing it is your bloody comfort zone and your ego and your lack of ability to be coached, right? And then you find out the reason that you're not making change or progress is because you don't see all of those things. And this is my way of bringing it to light. So it's day one is introducing how we're going to approach it, what else you need, who's going to be your friend in that process. And it's not someone else you have to find, by the way. And then just one or two other really empowering thinking approaches to this. Because I'm looking at you 12 months down the line, and at 3 years down the line, and 5 years down. I don't like whatever happens now, great. But what happens there, that's my focus there. I'm checking in on you in a year's time to see how your progress is. Day 2 is adding a little bit more and giving a little bit more of a why. And then day 3 is the same, empowering principle, another little activity. So we're adding 5. You have 5 days of things that will challenge you, but are incredibly easy to do in principle. But if your ego gets in the way, you'll think they're the hardest things to do. And that's so like we're looking at growth in easy ways. So day 1, day 2, day 3, we're just adding slightly on. And then the whole time underpinning it with incredible foundations that have really helped me and everyone else that I speak to. Day 4 is the same, and then day 5 is the same. We just add on, not the same as day 3. It's the same plus. So by day 5, you are fully equipped with the foundations of things that can change your life if you want to and take it on yourself. After that, then I'll tell you a little bit about the course and that. And obviously, I'm doing the 5-day challenge to add as much value as I can and give you everything I think that's possibly can be taken so that you can run with it. But then the course, the Unshakable course, that's where like the exciting stuff happens. You start to go a little bit deeper and you start to understand patterns, but you understand performance structures, and we understand a little bit more about identity. Obviously, identity human. Plus just different approaches to goals. And then the ones that are the most important, like not important, helpful, are the like we call them empowering principles. They're the things that I tell you that you can realize in the moment without having to do psychology or deep dives or therapy or anything like that, where you can literally in the moment be like, that's what Don's talking about. So again, it's making the invisible visible so that you can learn from it and not do it again. How you're going to break your cycles that you're in because you don't recognize what's keeping in that cycle. Like those things are there. And we wrap that around community and just as much interaction and value and love that I can give to help you along that journey. And like that's what excites me. That's what is the end goal. That's what I would love all of you that are listening to be able to help yourselves, to make a difference, and all that kind of stuff is it's just lifting up our level of awareness and understanding so that we can apply it in not just a copy paste type of way, but like, how do I apply that to my life in a way that resonates with me? That's what that's all about. So it's 5-day challenge into the course, and then there's community. That's what I'm going to start to lean into more now. Like I spent a bit of time thinking about it, and it really does excite me. I did a call on Wednesday night, and it was so good to see the people that have gone through the course and they're like, just the changes that they're making are so subtle, but they're so good, so rewarding to see. as well as the fact that they're still on the journey and that's life. Like, you're going to be on this journey for the next however long it takes you to live. And that's the whole point of it, is how we can just, you can be successful unintentionally, or you can be successful intentionally. So I want to help us make ourselves successful intentionally, because if it's intentional, you can teach it to others. Now, if you've got kids, friends, if you care about any form of collective humanity, then this is where this comes in, is just making our own success more intentional, so that we can help those around us be more intentional about their success, but not trying to get them to be us, get them to be them with their own learns that they've allowed to be sped up through us. All right. So I'm going to stop there. I don't know how long this episode has been. And I was going to talk about leadership and my thoughts towards it, but I'm going to do that next week, because the Thor update kind of really sent me on a really good tangent. I hope that's been helpful to you. I will have all of the programming that I did on Project Thor will make available in the course, by the way. So that 5-day challenge there, because it's almost just helping. Like, if you are someone that has been trying to get into shape and trying to just, like, you start somewhere, right, with your health, and you've really struggled, then I realize that, like, I can give you the stuff that you need mentally in order to get shape, like that mental state, that resilience. And it's much simpler than you think. So, but it takes conversations. It takes me seeing you and understanding it from your point of view and how you can relate it. Okay. And that's what I'm going to say. So if it resonates with you, because leadership does 100% ties directly into this, is if you're struggling to get yourself into shape mentally, like, you've got the program, you've got the knowledge, but you're still something getting in the way. That's I want to plug in there, because I want to plug in there for everything. But I want to start with that, because imagine if you can get yourself into shape, you lead yourself better, you lead others better, you become that version of you that you want to do, because you've got that shape, you've got the character, you've got the communication, all of that. Like, you just start to know yourself better. Okay. So I just want to keep feeding these things in and making sure that you know that I'm on the journey here. The podcast is going to keep going, obviously, and I love the journey that it's on. Where that's going to be in a year, 6 months, 3 months time, it'll be where it be. Followers wise, we've been on 111 followers for like a month or two. I like the fact that you guys have taken the time to follow. The fact that some of you take the time to listen weekly is amazing. If you're still listening to this now, by the way, you are incredible. And I just want to acknowledge that. That's my dog barking in the background because the kids are. But you're incredible. Like, you're not just a number. That's why I always say, like, if you comment and I see the comments, I'm like, that's human being. Like, last week, someone commented, said it was very insightful. So I just wanted to say, like, everything is appreciated. You're not just a number. All right. So remember, I'm going to end on that. Remember, Ubuntu, we are who we are through others. So I'm going to work on me for you if you work on you for me. Have a great day.